Good morning and happy Tuesday. We are here again doing a reading through the Bible. We are on Deuteronomy 11, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. I just want to thank you all for your support. Thank you to everyone who has come through and commented and watched the videos. And I just pray right now that whoever needs this, whoever is looking to grow closer to God and just having a hard time finding time to read through their Bible. And, sometimes it's just easier to hear it and it's kind of like an audiobook. So I pray that whoever needs this comes in contact with this video. And if you know anyone who is trying to grow in the Lord, please be sure to share it and be sure to subscribe, like, comment down below. Let me know if you would like some commentary with the reading, or just the reading through right now. Maybe do some commentary afterwards. Let me know. But right now, the reading through the Bible is what I've been called to do. So I just want to make sure that I'm obedient. I've been kind of putting it off a little bit just because of life, but I'm just trying to be obedient. So we are on chapter 11 of Deuteronomy, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So love the Lord your God and follow his instructions, his regulations, his case law, and his commandments always. And know right now what your children haven't known or yet witnessed. The Lord your God The Lord your God's discipline, his power, his mighty hand and outstretched arm, the signs and the acts that he performed in the heart of Egyptian territory against Egypt's king, Pharaoh, and all his land. What God did to the Egyptian army, to its horses and chariots, how he made the water of the Reed Sea flow over their heads when they chased after you. But the Lord destroyed them, and that's how things stand right now. What the Lord did for you in the desert until you arrived at this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the descendants of Eliab and Eliad the Reubenite, when the ground opened up its mouth and swallowed them, their families, their tents, and every living thing they possessed in the presence of Israel. Your own eyes witnessed each of these powerful acts the Lord performed. So keep every part of the commandment that I am giving you today so that you stay strong to enter and take possession of the land that you are crossing over to possess, and so that you might prolong your life on the fertile land that the Lord swore to your ancestors to give to them and their descendants, a land full of milk and honey. The land you are about to enter and possess is definitely not like the land of Egypt, where you came from, where you sowed your seed and irrigated it by hand like a vegetable garden. No, the land you are entering to possess is a land of hills and valleys where your drinking water will be rained from heaven. It's a land that the Lord cares for. The Lord's eyes are on it constantly from the first of the year until the very end of the year. Now, if you completely obey God's commandments that I am giving you right now, by loving the Lord your God and by serving him with all your heart and all your being, then he will provide rain for your land at the right time, early rain and late rain, so you can stock up your grain, wine, and oil. He will also make your fields lush for your livestock, and you will eat and be satisfied. But watch yourselves, otherwise your heart might be led astray, so you stray away, serving other gods and worshiping them. Then the Lord's anger will burn against you. He will close the sky up tight. There won't be any rain, and the ground won't yield any of its crops. You will quickly disappear off the wonderful land that the Lord is giving to you. Place these words I'm speaking on your heart in your very being. Tie them on your hand as a sign. They should be on your forehead as a symbol. Teach them to your children by talking about them when you are sitting around your house and when you are out and about, when you are lying down and when you are getting up. Write them on your house's door frames and on your city's gates. Do all that so your days and your children's days on the fertile land that the Lord swore to give to your ancestors are many. Indeed, as many as the number of days that the skies been over the earth. It's true. If you carefully keep all this commandment, keep if you carefully keep all this commandment that I'm giving you by doing it, by loving the Lord your God, by walking in all his ways, and by clinging to him, then the Lord will clear out all these nations before you. You will inherit what belong to to nations that are larger and stronger than you are. Every place you set foot on will be yours. Your territory will run from the wilderness all the way to the Lebanon range, and from the Euphrates River all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. No one will be able to stand up to you, just as he promised. The Lord your God will make the entire land deathly afraid of you wherever you advance in it. Pay attention. I am setting blessing and curse before you right now. The blessing if you obey the Lord your God's commandments that I am giving you right now, but the curse if you don't obey the Lord your God's commandments and stray from the path that I am giving you today by following other gods that you have not known. Now, when the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of, but put the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Aren't both these mountains across the Jordan River, down along the western road in the region of the Canaanites who live in the desert plain across from the Gilgal next to the Moreh oak grove? So then, once you cross the Jordan River to enter and possess the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you take possession of it, settling down in it, you must carefully follow the regulations and the case laws that I am laying out before you right now. These are the regulations and case laws that you must carefully keep in the fertile land the Lord your ancestors' God has given you to possess for as long as you live on that land. You must completely destroy every place where the nations that you are displacing worshipped their gods, whether on high mountains or hills or under leafy green trees. Rip down their altars and shatter their sacred stones. Burn their sacred poles with fire. Hack their gods' idols into pieces. Wipe out their names from that place. Don't act like they did toward the Lord your God. Instead, you must search for the location the Lord your God will select from all your tribes, to put his name there as his residence, and you must go there. You must bring your entirely burned offerings, your sacrifices, your tenth part gifts, your contributions, your payments for solemn promises, your spontaneous gifts, and the oldest offspring of your herds and flocks to that place. You will have an you will have a feast there, each of you and your families, in the Lord your God's presence, and you will celebrate all you have done because the Lord your God has blessed you. Don't act like we've been acting here lately, everyone doing what seems right to them, because up to this point you haven't yet reached the place of rest or the inheritance the Lord your God is giving you. But you are about to cross the Jordan River and will settle in the land that the Lord your God is giving you as your inheritance. Then he will give you rest from all your enemies on every side so that you live safely and securely. At that point, you must bring all that I am commanding you, your entirely burned offerings, your sacrifices, your tenth part gifts, your contributions, and all of your best payments that you solemnly promise to the Lord, to the location the Lord your God selects for his name to reside. Then you will rejoice in the Lord your God's presence, each of you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levites who dwell in your cities, because they have no designated inheritance. But watch yourselves. Make sure you don't offer up your entirely burned offerings in just any place you see. No, only the location the Lord selects from one of your tribal areas. That's where you must offer up your entirely burned offerings, and that's where you must perform everything I'm telling you. However, whenever you wish, you may slaughter and eat meat, as the Lord your God sees fit to bless you with such in your cities. People who are polluted and people who are purified can join in the feast, as they would if they were eating gazelle or deer. But you must not consume any of the animal's blood. Pour it out on the ground just like water. Within your cities, you are not allowed to eat any of the following: your tenth part gifts of grain, wine, and oil, the oldest offspring of your herds and flocks, any of the payments you have solemnly promised, your spontaneous gifts, or your contributions. Only in the presence of the Lord your God, at the location the Lord your God selects, can you eat these things. That holds true for you, your son and daughter, your male and female servant, and the Levite who lives in your city. Then celebrate all you have done in the Lord your God's presence. But watch yourself. As long as you are on the land, don't forget about the Levites. Once the Lord your God has enlarged your territory, as he promised you, and you think to yourself, I'd like to eat some meat, because you have the desire to do so, feel free to do so whenever you want. But if the location that the Lord your God will choose to put his name is far away from where you live, then slaughter an animal from your herd or flock that the Lord has given you, just as I have commanded you, and eat it in your cities whenever you wish. But be sure to eat it as if you were gazelle or deer. People who are polluted and people who are purified can eat on it together. Furthermore, make sure that you don't consume any of the blood, because blood is life. You must not consume the life along with the meat. You must not consume any of it. Pour it out on the ground just like water. You must not consume any of it, so that things go well for you and for your children later, because you did what was right in the Lord's eyes. Note that you must bring your sacred offerings and your payments for solemn promises to the location the Lord selects, offering up your entirely burned sacrifices, both meat and blood, on the Lord your God's altar. The blood from your sacrifices must be poured out on the Lord your God's altar, but you are allowed to eat the meat. Observe and obey all these words that I am commanding you, so that things always go well for you and your children later, because you did what was good and right in the Lord your God's eyes. Once the Lord your God has removed from me Once the Lord your God has removed from before you all the nations that you are entering and taking possession of, and you have displaced them and are living in their land, then watch yourself. Don't be trapped by following their practices after they've been wiped out before you. Don't go investigating their gods, thinking, how did these nations worship their gods? I, I want to do the very same thing. Don't act like they did toward the Lord your God, because they did things for their gods that are detestable to the Lord, which he hates. They even burned their own sons and daughters with fire for their gods. Everything I'm commanding you, you must do it with the utmost care. Don't add anything to it or take anything away from it. Now, if a prophet or a dream interpreter appears among you and performs a sign or wonder for you, and the sign or wonder that was spoken actually occurs, if he says, "Come on, we should follow other gods, ones you haven't experienced, and we should worship them," you must not listen to that prophet's or dream interpreter's words, because the Lord your God is testing you to see if you love the Lord your God with all your mind and all your being. You must follow the Lord your God alone, revere him, follow his commandments, obey his voice, worship him, cling to him, no other. That prophet or dream interpreter must be executed because he encouraged you to turn away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, who redeemed you from the house of slavery. They tried to lead you away from the path the Lord your God commanded you to take. Remove such evil from your community. Similarly, if one of your relatives, even one of your own siblings, or your own son or daughter, or your dear spouse or best friend entices you secretly, if someone like that says, "Come on, we should follow and worship other gods," ones that neither you nor your ancestors have experienced, gods from all the neighboring peoples, whether nearby or far away, from one end of the earth to the other, don't give in to them. Don't obey them. Don't have any mercy on them. Don't have compassion on them, and don't protect them. Instead, you must execute them. Your own hand must be against them from the beginning of the execution. The hand of all the people will be involved at the end. Stone them until they are dead because they desired to lead you away from the Lord your God, the one who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. All Israel will hear about this and be afraid. They won't do that sort of evil thing among you again. Or if you hear about one of your towns the Lord your God is giving you to inhabit, that certain wicked people have gone out from your community and they've led the citizens of their town astray by saying, "Come on, we should follow and worship other gods, ones you haven't experienced before." At that point, you must look into this situation very carefully to see if it's true. And if it's definitely true that this detestable thing was done in your community, you must completely strike down the inhabitants of that city with the sword. Place it and all that is in it under the ban. Put its animals to the sword. Gather all the plunder into the middle of the town square. Then burn the city and all of its plunder as an entirely burned offering to the Lord your God. It must remain a heap of rubble forever. It must not be rebuilt. Don't hold don't hold on to any of the banned items. This I lost my place. Don't hold don't hold on to any of the banned items. This will ensure that the Lord turns from his great anger and is compassionate to you, showing you mercy and multiplying you just like he swore to your ancestors. You must definitely obey the Lord your God's voice, keeping all his commandments that I am giving you right now, by doing what is right in the Lord your God's eyes. You are the Lord's children. Don't cut yourselves and don't shave your foreheads for the dead, because you are a people holy to the Lord your God. You are the ones whom the Lord selected to be his own, to be a treasured people out of all the other people on earth. Don't eat any detestable things. Here's a list of animals you are allowed to eat: ox, sheep, goat, deer, gazelle, roebuck, wild goat, ibex, antelope, and mountain sheep. You are also allowed to eat any animal with a divided hoof, the hoof being divided into two parts, and the resh, the rechoose food. Wait, sorry. Okay, the hoof being divided into two parts, and that re-choose food among the various kinds of animals. However, here's a list of animals that either re-chew food or have hooves divided into two parts that you are not allowed to eat. The camel, the hare, the rock badger, because these re-chew food and don't have divided hoofs. They are off limits for you. And the pig, because it has a divided hoof but doesn't rechew food. It's off limits for you. You may not eat these animals' meat, and you must not touch their carcasses. Here's a list of water animals you are allowed to eat. You can eat anything that has fins and scales, but you aren't allowed to eat anything that lacks scales or fins. These are off limits for you. You are not allowed to eat any clean bird. Here's a list of those you are not allowed to eat: the eagle, the vulture, the osprey, the red kite, the black kite, and any kind of bird of prey, and any kind of raven. The ostrich, the nighthawk, the seagull, any kind of hawk, the small owl and the large owl, the water hen, the desert owl, the carrion vulture, the cormorant, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoopoe, and the bat. All these also, all winged insects are off limits for you. They are not to be eaten. Any clean winged creature can be eaten, however. You must you must not eat any decayed animal flesh because you are a people holy to the Lord your God. You can give decayed animal flesh to the immigrants who live in your cities, and they can eat it, or you can sell it to foreigners. Don't cook a lamb in its own mother's milk. You must reserve a tenth part of whatever your fields produce each year. Eat the tenth part of your grain, wine, oil, oldest offspring of your herds, and flocks in the presence of the Lord your God in the location he selects for his name to reside, so that you learn to fear the Lord your God at all times. But if the trip is too long because the location the Lord your God has selected to put his name is far away from where you live, so that you can't transport the tenth part, because the Lord your God will certainly bless you, then you can convert it to money. Take the money with you and go to the location the Lord your God selects. Then you can use the money for anything you want: cattle, sheep, wine, beer, or whatever else you might like. Then you should feast there and celebrate in the presence of the Lord your God, along with your entire household. Only make sure not to neglect the Levites who are living in your cities, because they don't have a designated inheritance like you do. Every third year you must bring the tenth part of your produce from that year and leave it at your city's gates. Then the Levites, who have no designated inheritance like you do, along with the immigrants, orphans, and widows who live in your cities, will come and feast until they are full. Do this so that the Lord your God might bless you in everything you do. And we are going to end right there because that's starting a new chapter and it's a little bit long. So we're going to stop right there. We made it to chapter 15. So we'll start on 15 tomorrow when I return. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope that you all stick around, subscribe, hit the like button, notification bell, and be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And until next time, guys, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye.